mics on, folks. Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of Town Planning Board. Would you please join us in the pledge? Zach, would you lead us off, please?
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the May 21st minutes. Any questions or comments? We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Mr. Duval,
Yes.
Mr. Abbey,
Yes.
Ms. Scanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie,
Yes.
and I vote yes to the minutes. Next, we'll open the board meeting to public comment. There's nobody here from the public, I don't think. Anybody wish to address any active application? Given nobody's approach, we'll move on to first item has been postponed again by the applicant. So the first one we'll review is a sketch plan review for Wilkins recreational vehicles at the site at 8010 Bruton Road. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Alex Amering. I'm with Costage Engineering, representing Wilkins. With me is Brian Wilkins. I'm not sure how familiar this board is with the Echo Park Automotive Project. Obviously, it's not been open for too long, but kind of arose as an opportunity for Brian. He is under contract to purchase it, pending, some of the approvals from this board. So Wilkins RV, very similar in function to what Echo Park did, sales, service, and parts. Only difference, different product, so RVs instead of cars. The improvements at the site are really quite minimal. We're really kind of walking into a site that was well thought out and will serve Wilkins well. We've gone through and kind of delineated on the plan display areas, customer parking, employee parking. There's some minor interior renovations and changes inside the building, but obviously that would be submitted to the building department for permit. The exterior of the building, the only changes, there will be a few additional overhead doors. And I believe on the showroom also, so service and showroom. Obviously before they just had regular cars in the showroom, so now they need a little bigger door to get RVs in there. But yeah, the site itself, again, the front parking area facing Brewerton, that's mostly display. Customers would come in on the private access road. You'll see the customer parking. I don't know if, here we go. Private access road, which I believe there was a subdivision application in front of this board maybe a year or so ago. That did make this road part of the parcel in the rear. Full access drive here, right in, right out here. We're not proposing to change anything with the access. So primarily customers would come in, park in this customer parking lot. The primary entry is here. Then showroom, office space, parts, and then over here is more service department. They do have a bunch of parking in the back for extra inventory. And this would be the employee parking lot here. Service vehicles would be kept over here. And this is kind of a pickup drop-off area. When people would bring their RVs in to get serviced, they would leave it with a Wilkins employee, obviously, and then get a ride home or whatnot. So I'll just real quick talk about the few site-related improvements. We are getting rid of 6 lighting poles obviously the parking layout, the spaces have to be substantially larger for RVs. So on here, we show for depiction a 15 by 40 foot stall. There were 3 light poles here, and then 3, 1, 2, 3 there. The lighting itself was fairly substantial, I'll say. So there's lighting around the perimeter, and then we'll leave the 3 in the middle here. What they'll do is they'll continue to provide, you know, general security for nighttime. We will be, sure.
That's fairly common, different, we have auto dealerships and RV dealerships. Auto dealerships want really lit up because your vision of the car will help sell the car. For RVs, it's not really how we sell RVs, we're more selling inside of the vehicle. That's just gotta go inside it in order to buy it. So our lighting, we light our facilities, is more meant, a more minimal lighting for security reasons. We're not trying to show up. And the light poles, having less light poles means there's less light poles there for us to run the bigger vehicle.
That makes sense.
Regarding the lighting, when we made the planning board application, we hadn't yet modeled the photometrics. As you can imagine, we're reducing the light levels, so they don't actually get low enough to have any dark areas in the parking lot. It's just like Brian was saying, car lighting levels are usually more in the 5 to 10 foot candle range, and now they'll be lower in the 5 foot candle range. So I do have copies of a photometric plan, which I'll
You can leave it with me.
leave
You can
with
go in,
Steve.
yeah.
Okay. Apologize about the late delivery of that. One other item, dump station is something that they offer their customers. So there's a sewer in the back. We would be coordinating with the town engineer and any of the sewer representatives about that connection. But the sewer already runs along the back, so it would be attached right to the back of the building. And typically it would have a water clean out too, or spigot type.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be meant for public use. That would be more meant for our internal use. We take any used RV, nice to be able to have a dump station there where we can dump the whole things. And the buyer of that used RV, the big thing. Market that as a stop by and dump your tanks.
I think lastly, one item the board will be curious about, we did propose new fencing around it from a security standpoint. We were aware, I believe the front yard has a maximum height of 4 feet. So we did propose that in the front yard. We did propose 2 different types of fence, being cognizant of the aesthetics on the roadway. We proposed a more decorative aluminum style fence, which kind of wraps the front and then up partially along the side. And then at some point it transitions to a black chain link fence. So I think at this point I'd like to turn it over to the board and answer questions. Do you have any? Brian has a number of locations in upstate New York. I think currently is 3 in the greater Syracuse area, and the hope would be that could potentially consolidate to this location. Correct?
Yeah, that would be a whole idea. Location.
Where are your other locations?
One is up the street in Brewerton. That would stay. We lease a facility over at the Great Northern Mall, former Great Northern Mall. The old, I believe it used to be a Toys R Us building. We lease there, so we would move out of that facility and then we have a facility up in Fulton, New York.
You'll end up having two.
We'd go from 3 to 2, yep.
Jim, questions?
Okay, so you would be displaying principally in the front of,
Front.
you know, with your outdoor display
Our inventory would be the front and then also in the back.
in the back?
So kind of I guess it would be the northeast corner there. All of that area where he's got the red, that would all be inventory.
And it would be fenced
Correct.
way around or? just
Yep,
part?
all the way to that, I guess it would be the northeast corner there.
It wouldn't enclose the entire property. I believe we terminated it over here and over here. You know, while people coming in on foot are a concern, I think the larger concern is people pulling away with a hooking up to an RV. So vehicular, you know, control is more important.
So window shoppers wouldn't be the problem, it'd be people helping themselves, yeah. So no big changes to the building, you're adding on to it or?
Some overhead doors you're adding, right?
Yeah, primarily 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4.
Mark, you have elevations?
And then a couple on the showroom, which
I think 3 of those doors. The 3 in the middle would be installed, or I guess on the second elevation down.
yeah, so just kind of running you through, this is the primary entry on the north side of the building. These are all existing. This is the south face of the building. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 new. Before, they just had one that came through that end of the building and one that came through that end of the building. Obviously, maneuvering RVs into bays, typically they just back out, right?
Yeah, to have, for the auto dealership to have door on each end, it's pretty easy because to move the car inside the building is easy, right? For the RVs, bigger vehicles, having more doors where we can just back in, work on the vehicle, pull it out, operationally works better. So we just looked at the structure of it and basically are adding as many overhead doors as we can functionally add.
Then I'm trying to recall the new ones on the showroom.
Yeah, the showroom doors are just going from bigger overhead doors that allow us to get RVs in and out versus the doors that are there are smaller auto. I believe they're just a walkway doors, but they slide open in order to get cars in and out.
You wouldn't change the exterior at all as far as materials or color or, okay.
One thing we didn't address, obviously would be replacing the signage. The intent would be to match the square footages on the building and also replace the graphics on, I don't know which, it's not a pylon or a monument, it's a raised monument, I guess you would call it. Out at the road, but we would like to come back to the board with the signage vendor.
Right.
But
I was thinking, if we close on the property, then we would address signs. But the seller is, pushing the prop close as, yeah. So we will hopefully close and then take 6 months or so to, do what we need to do inside. We don't really want to move, this is our season. So for us to move in season operationally is the best. So we just want to get it under contract, work on signage and stuff like that over the second half of the year, be ready to open first of January. That's our hope. So we're not in a rush to get in there, but they're certainly in a rush.
I'm good.
Chuck?
What we're looking here in these plans is it sits with the use of the auto usage, right? I mean, all the parking spaces, indications, those are for cars, aren't they?
Yeah, we submitted an existing and a proposed site plan.
Okay,
The proposed, you can see relative, these are regular
right,
autos.
Ordinance, right?
These are all 15 by 20. We had to get a little creative, like back here. Yeah, sorry. It laid out good in the front. In the back, we had to get a little creative because of this row of light poles. So what we did was parallel along, there's a couple of grass islands back there. And then that's just a single stacked row that kind of aligns with the light poles.
Well, as it is, you're planning on mutual amount of RVs.
There'll be, would you come up with 120?
Look at I can't see that number in the front. There was 68 in the back, I think 74. We had a number over here for, again, that's when they're being shuttled in and out of service. And then this is, again, kind of pick up, drop off. One thing I'm sure Brian can attest to this, but they really try to keep people from navigating through the site. Some are good RV drivers and some probably not so much. So the pickup drop off, they really want people to come in, pull their RV in, and then let, the staff.
Right, so they'll come in that second entrance there, and the idea is they just pull in that entrance, pull into those diagonal spots, and they're done. Come inside, check the vehicle in with us, and then we take it into the shop.
Or come over and park it by the showroom and take a look at the new vehicles.
Yeah,
They can go into the
upgrade.
showroom while we're doing the repairs, absolutely.
So this drawing is accommodated all the entrances and turn lanes to accommodate the large RVs.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one is actually the wider of the entrances, but you can see they used pretty generous radiuses on those. So it does work out kind of good. We would like, anyone coming to shop or parts to use this. If you're dropping or picking up an RV, use this. And this one might be used more for like delivery of vehicles or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we'll know more when we get into signage, but we'll probably propose some McDonald's style
Directional.
signage out by those entryways that direct RV parking this way, auto parking this way, etc.
Well, it'd certainly be nice to see something nice going into those acres.
Beautiful building.
It is.
We're pretty happy with it.
That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Eric?
I think it's a very nice fit for your business, so I'm really happy about it. I did not know about that side road, so what's gonna prevent people from coming in the other way? That first entrance there,
Here?
no, at the bottom? Yeah, right there.
So they can. I'm assuming, based on work with state DOT, they probably told them they weren't gonna give them a full access there. I know that stretch of road is probably going through some access management improvements. So customers can come in and leave here. Typically, you kind of cone off display or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could come up that driveway, turn left, and pull into if they're in a car, and pull into the car parking. And then I could see that as an exit for if somebody's leaving with their RV, they could go around the back of the building and leave that way.
If they're going north.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess if you wanna direct them to that other road, you just would have to have very good signage. Definitely. And then with your new overhead doors, what color will they be? I mean, so right now it's kind of green and like, what is the building? Their colors were green and beige. So, and your brand is reds and
So
yellow.
our building colors have always been tan and red, so, I believe the building tan, so we would either go with tan doors
Okay,
or. blue color match.
yeah, we'll need that, right? In our,
Are the doors that are on there now, they're just aluminum, aren't they? Are they not, are they painted?
It would just be aluminum. finish.
Yeah, I thought they were like a gray, just a kind of a metal color. I thought, it's been a long time since I looked at it. What's on there now?
Yeah, we'll want you to detail that out.
so, and then your front of the building is really the side from Brewerton Road. So I just, the view from Brewerton Road, I would still want that to look nice as well. Even
Yeah.
though it's not your entrance.
Yeah, I think that will be our first impression, so I'm.
Yeah. Right,
The RVs will be out there, the RVs will be facing, the traffic going by
and they'll be orderly.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, good.
better be.
Yeah. So, and there'll be about 120
Yeah.
on the site at any time. I feel like you don't have enough spots for people bringing in their own for service, but I guess you can work that out.
I mean, the way that flows, we're usually getting them out of that drive,
Okay,
we call it the service drive, and getting it either into the storage area or into the shop as quickly as we can, so. Plus we got 6, 7 people dropping off at once,
mhm,
That's typically, that's something you arrange ahead of time.
right.
So it's-
Appointments are made by me. We,
okay. And then I just worry about, so you're right next to Marshall Plaza, Wegmans Plaza, people pulling out and trying to cross traffic and take a left. I'm just worried about that.
yeah, I think,
There's no traffic light there.
yeah, I think that's something we're just gonna wanna educate our buyer on flow of traffic is to
Yeah.
turn right.
Okay,
We operated out of a very similar road in Victor, New York for 6 years, where you had probably, I'd say, a busier road.
Mhm.
Never had an issue with that. They're going for-
yep. Good. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Zach.
Let's talk about the dump station. So you're saying that it's not gonna be advertised as like a free come and dump whenever you want.
Yep.
But are you gonna turn customers away who show up with their RV, who would like to dump?
Yeah, I think that idea there.
Gotcha. So it's not gonna be like a public dumping station for anybody after.
State Park.
Gotcha.
They come in for service, I assume they can ask that it be dumped or, I mean, can they just pull up and use it?
Usually not a, I don't feel like that's a request that we get when people are dropping off.
Mhm.
So, a couple of the sites have the dump station in a place where they're easily my customers on days we want to close. So like if I go in on a Sunday, there's always 4 or 5 customers lined up and they're dumping their tanks, but it's really easy to get. And it's outside the fenced area, so they can get to it easy. That's not gonna be the case here. This is gonna be back at the side of our service department. It's not gonna be very visible. And the intent there is that's, as I said, that's for us whenever. Now, if a customer is dropping off for service and they're asking us to dump while the vehicles there, I don't think we have a problem with that.
But you're not gonna be advertising it.
I don't know how they would know to ask.
Yeah.
For some.
Hmm.
Right, right.
Usually do it
So is this,
Campground. Yeah,
you said the one was outside the fenced area. Is this one outside or inside?
This can.
It's inside.
This is inside the fenced area, but there's no gates, right? So you're not gonna be sheds in it.
There's gates.
I didn't really touch on that. So the fence is gonna continue across and it'll be open during business hours and shut.
Yeah, gates will be left open during business hours, left closed.
The gates will match the type of fence. It'll be an electronic slide gate, right?
I went online, looked at these dump stations. I've never seen them before in person. And they look pretty sanitary, that connect with hose and
You
connection.
might campgrounds and
Yeah.
stuff
Just
like.
slope them,
more often.
they're usually in the middle of a concrete pad.
Right.
Slope them, there's a wash bed so they can wash them. Yeah, and I, most of my time is spent at our bath location. And that one's outside the fence, pretty accessible by the public. People come in. Never once in 20 years that I walk out there, but we got stop by customers do this.
no.
Gander Outdoors has one. If you-
Oneida Shores have one.
Gander, but Gander, they put one in when they built that up there, yeah.
Anything else?
No, all set. Good. Thank you.
The fencing out front, I appreciate your concern about the aesthetics of it, and what you're showing looks nice. I'd like to get Mark's view on it too. I haven't seen it other than your details of it.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had some product sheets, that had photos and I can submit those for distribution. We take them and, put them in more a design detail on the drawings, which I know doesn't always translate as well. So we can give you some of the product cut sheets if that would help.
Yeah, that would help. When I first heard, I'm like, fencing out along the front, no. But it does, from what I can see, it does look nicer than anticipated. Do you think you're able to do some low-lying landscaping along that front with the fence?
It's pretty substantially landscaped today.
No, it's not. Street view.
Along the entrance.
While he's doing that, let me ask you. So you're showing, oh, look how cute.
They have kind of an odd display area, which kind of extends out towards the right. It
Yeah.
almost looks like a driveway.
I was wondering about that one asphalt projection.
Pull up street view.
Yeah.
Pull up. Location, I can show you. Or I can show you exactly.
Okay, yeah, that would be good.
I think they have beds kind of prominent to the entrances.
Yeah, there's the two beds at the entrance.
That's kind of where we were talking at.
So the fencing runs, I turn it on, all along the front. And the only landscaping is at the entrances. So I was wondering along the entire length of the fence.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Oh,
Is that an entrance or is it just? It's an old, I assumed that it was meant to be just a little display. No, it was an old entrance.
It was a remnant that they utilized for that purpose, but it was the old driveway.
Well, we-
You bring up a good point. We did kind of parallel the edge of the, so it would kind of.
It doesn't work, I mean, that intrudes into the right of way, actually, I mean, it's
yeah, it should come out.
previous projects, and I don't know that was approved that way.
It seemed odd.
So, other projects, up now, we try and keep that 25 or so feet
Right.
from the right of way line before we have the flare.
Yeah, good point.
So, to me, that's intrusive. Sticks right out into the, you know, into the view shed. And, like, I would think you would want to remove it in itself.
I agree. And then some landscaping along the run of the fence, up front. And then, Mark, if you go to the south entrance. Just to point out, there's landscaping here. I don't see that on your plan.
I think we called out a bed of sorts, maybe not.
It just needs to be reflected on your plan.
We can,
Where? Here.
Yep, see the arrow? right there?
Oh,
Yep.
I think, Mark, you're asking for,
shows the
you're asking
radius of it.
some more landscaping, maybe a detail.
we can easily, you know, if we're proposing stuff,
Yeah.
normally we do the survey ourselves and we use the surveyor who had history on the project, so some things don't show up quite the same, but we would do the landscape design ourselves, so
There wasn't enough interest. Yeah.
thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, just how much,
Too big.
what are you looking for?
Okay.
Landscaping.
Well, what's there isn't horrible.
We have landscape design guidelines now.
True.
Realistically, so, I mean, this, we think they're actual reviews. So there are design guidelines for landscaping and things down. Code now.
I'm assuming those came after the Echo Park.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're about 6.
Basket.
Out of your, I would recommend going there and look at those. And buy them. I guess I'm getting the easiest way to put it.
And that's all I have. Mike, anything?
No, we're good.
Steve?
So all the fencing in the front is all 4 foot high ornamental fencing? Okay, and then the gates, and then the 6 foot, but it begins on the sides of 6 feet, right in the front yard a little bit?
Right at the 90-degree.
Yeah, yeah, so it's front, but it's 6 feet. So you do, I just wanted to make that clear. It's not.
That's a great point. Yeah, you may want to carry it back 15 feet or 20 feet or.
Off of the right of way, Brewerton right away, you're saying? Yeah, I guess we didn't detail it would transition at some point, but I don't think it has to be right at the corner. We would probably take it back to where kind of the parking starts. I would think would make sense.
That was my original thought, is the aluminum, nicer looking aluminum fence to go to the first entrance. And that's what we're up with it. We can tell that better.
Terrific.
That's it,
Steve-
thank you.
Neil, anything?
All set.
Mark?
So the design guidelines, and again, this is an existing site, so if it's there's some latitude in indication of that, I guess, but yeah, it does talk about breaking out the outlets. For park. Kind of display area, so I mean, it's a little shaky, but you know, if there's any desire for any sort of landscaping island in the parking or the display area, break up that view, right? It really, that should come from the architectural landscaping review, but that's what bringing it up. That there are those requirements now for breaking up those types of.
Did you follow what he's saying?
I did.
Some islands in the parking area.
I would comment the reason we're getting rid of light poles.
I was just
for
thinking that.
maneuvering. Even the islands in the back, we weren't thrilled about, but we were kind of committed to not adding more impervious area to the project.
I would take a look at that if you could do, I mean, And I understand you're dealing with larger vehicles and maneuvering them.
The, you could, in the center of your plan, and again, I don't know how much good it's gonna do, I guess realistically, I could. And you could take and do a landscape island down the center here. It's gonna reduce the width of your paving, but realistically, with these being RVs, you know, massive vehicles with, you know, they're high, you know, 10 foot behind wherever they are. Right, yeah, you put a tree in there, you're not gonna see it, you know, but I bring it up to say it, but then on the other hand, unless you do something pretty substantially, I think it gets lost. Display area regardless, but
If you can work along the front with the fencing. Right?
so, you know, and design guidelines for, you know, the landscape law is probably pretty extensive, so. I
Are they-
think they'll get it, I just want to break the board.
Are they mostly tow behind? So that would keep them all in the same direction. Right? When you're parking them? If you had to back them in.
You're gonna get, the way they're gonna kind of be parked, the way they're shown there, is they're gonna be back up to the light pole, one side's back up to the light pole, the other side's back up to the light pole, so they're facing away from each other.
Right, because you gotta hook up a truck.
My concern, landscaping island in there is, pretty extra hazard. Walk through this landscape area and, you know, parking lot. I can see and I don't see where it's gonna provide any aesthetic value, because like you say, they're big vehicles. Well, somebody lives in that parking lot, they're just gonna see RV landscaping.
You won't really have a time where there's not RVs there, like pretty much. It'll mostly be full.
Yeah, you know, it might get a little bare the week of the RV show at the fairgrounds.
Sorry.
I think that's your exception.
I would guess you'd be motivated to keep this area
Yeah.
full, and if anything, it would be emptier in the back.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, that's our display area. That's the piece that we want looking best to the customer every day, right? If there's gaps in the inventory, that's gonna be in the parking in the back. That's all.
Yeah.
I think they probably, to that degree, did think about it a little, because you can see the only place there are like islands are up in the customer parking area.
This is before our standards.
Uh,
That was before our standards were revised.
Yeah, but I'm, you know,
Cost
that
plays a big role in it.
inventory is
It's snow
a
removal.
sea of asphalt. It's efficient, you know, it has a purpose, you know. Whereas customer parking does have a different value.
Given use from my perspective, I'm okay with being lenient on that, but work on the front. Thoughts?
Hey, what, with the yard hydrant, what do you do with the yard hydrant that's by the dump station? There's a yard hydrant, it says on the plan.
That's just washed out.
Okay, I just did not wash any vehicles outside or anything like that.
I think
And
we-
you can't drink it.
Yeah.
I think we
Only in
just
Mexico.
pull that water right out of the building, because I'm assuming they have backflow prevention and everything already.
Should have. That doesn't mean plumbing control wouldn't require something, anti-siphon or something. I don't know how the yard, and maybe that's how the yard hydrant works actually.
Might be a secondary,
Yeah, yeah.
but we'll,
Especially near the dump station.
That's everything we have. Do you have anything further at this point? All right, terrific. We'll see you next time.
You can walk us through the process.
Mark, you're gonna do you now?
Gotta get on,
Anthony,
yeah, until time review, do their review, the time and manner.
I'll reach out to him.
All big vehicles. You may be able to do things, but
Thank you.
Might be able to get one.
well, where are we gonna?
They have it. So, yeah.
If it's possible the next meeting, but depends on how quickly you're able to turn around. the revised plans and
Possible approval at the next meeting, if not.
Every 2 weeks or 2 a month.
It's the first and third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. That concludes our agenda items. We're gonna go over the outstanding items that have been on the list for a while with Neil and see who, if any, should receive letters to ask where their stance is, whether or not they want to move forward and that kind of thing. So Montroy's good, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Town board.
Yeah, Heidi asked me about that. I said, leave it on for now, just in case it gets kicked back to us.
You're saying it doesn't match.
We haven't heard from art
Huh?
companies in a while.
Probably
The yacht club.
bigger Spots.
I suspect that as well. What's that? Oh,
I'll reach out to them because, there's an overlay district now, waterfront overlay district. Perhaps they want to change their application and they were going for a PUD before. I don't know if that's still their intention, so maybe they were just willing to take it off for now, but I'll reach out to them and ask them.
great. Then Gaberly Development's been around for a while, since June of 23.
Yeah, they gave me a call a couple weeks back and it sounds like they're getting geared up to come back. Yeah,
Okay.
with something.
That's fine. And Group 1 Development, Wayfair Drive, we know that Mr. Grosso's
Yep.
still
Still
working
pursuing
on
that.
that.
Yep.
And Montroy again. Sesta, we know they're on the agenda moving
Yep.
forward.
Yep.
The proposed auto repair on Brewerton Road, that's been around since January.
Yeah, I believe there's no interest in that any longer.
We should send a letter then. And party rentals since a little over a year ago.
Yeah, we were very close on that. You were just waiting for the architectural elevations to be updated. You asked for something more, maybe even fake windows. If we haven't received that, we did receive the subdivision application this week, but I'd like to see them get a letter just because we actually have this in court and it's just taking forever.
Serenity Living in the Hamlet on Brewerton Road, proposed mixed use apartments and commercial since November.
Yeah, that was a reapproval from their old site plan that expired.
They were here though, weren't they?
They were here,
In December, I
In
think.
December.
Yeah.
Spent 5-6 months.
so.
I think they were awarded New York Forward grant for their project in the announcement recently, so I believe they're gonna do it.
So letter or no?
You know what, why don't we just get it moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it moving.
So how about Roselli?
Send them a letter. That was pretty simple. I don't know what's going on with that.
Hmm.
All they need is architectural, I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah.
They just need architectural
Yep.
elevation.
Yep.
McKinley Road is a new one, proposed storage.
Yep, so it's 4.
Yeah. Good. Anything else? Questions, comments? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?